Hi everyone, thanks for joining me. So I'm going to kind of wing this a little bit because I'm talking about the magic of manifesting, but also I'm touching a little bit on that fairycraft kind of stuff, witchcraft kind of stuff as well. So it's about the magic in life, about manifesting, how to do it properly, how to bring magic into your life, how to create that dream life. I've got notes here, so if you see me glancing down, it's because I'm checking my notes and whatnot. Because it's a lot of writing. As you can see, it's 3 pages worth. So 3 pages worth, back and front. But it's all good stuff. At least in my opinion. So let's see, hopefully it helps you out. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and please do subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all your subscriptions, and I appreciate the support. I'll put a link in the video for a PayPal thing if you want to make a donation so that I can keep doing these videos for you, because I do have my program Heap of Abundance that I do with clients and whatnot, and I just wanted to share this for some of those people that, you know, perhaps can't afford the program, or also too for people that aren't local and just want to learn more, if they want to learn it online kind of thing. So I started with, I love that phrase, once upon a time. Once upon a time is, for me, one of the most magical phrases. And this is because when you hear that, you tend to sit up and you prick your ears a little bit. You're ready to listen. You kind of get still inside, excited and still at the same time. Because when someone says, once upon a time, you know magic is about to happen. You know a story is about to begin. You know a magical journey is about to happen. And this is your journey on your magical adventure. So it's always good to kind of start your journeys with that magic phrase. So when you're journaling, don't be afraid to start out your journaling with once upon a time. It's a beautiful way to start things, and it sets your mind in that place of magic and moving forward. So it's going to be really exciting. Remember your favorite fairy tales. It was always exciting to hear your favorite fairy tales and to hear them over and over again, because we learn from them. That fairy tales all have archetypes that we learn from. Remember the magic that happens in these tales. The magic in these stories is true. So as children, we believed in that magic. As adults, we grew up, we got jaded, we got told no, magic doesn't exist. We started to believe that, and we started to slowly eliminate the magic from our lives. And sometimes we see glimmers of it every once in a while, but a lot of times we don't, and sometimes we've totally erased it. So like I said, the magic in the fairy tales is true, sort of. Let me explain. So magic can really happen. What magic is the ability to use natural energies that are all around us. Because we're all connected. We're connected to everything in here. Everything that's in this room, in this space, I've brought into this room, both spiritually and literally, to make things, and magic is to make things happen, to bend the energies to our will. That's what spell casting is. Now, it's not as easy as asking the birds and the animals to help us with our housework. That would be beautiful. And then have a beautiful ball gown at the end of the day to slip into. That would also be awesome. It takes a lot of time and practice. So a lot of people sort of romanticize magic. Go, well, yeah, I'd love to do magic. I'd love to bring things into my life. I'd love to find the magic in life. And it can be very awesome and very amazing, but it does take work. It's not like the movies. It does take work, and it does take practice. A lot of people forget. It's a skill like everything else. You have the skill right now of having erased the magic. So now you have to build the skill of building the magic back into your life, of finding that magic again. And that's, like I said, it takes practice and it takes skill. So sometimes people will do one thing, like a manifesting thing, or, I'd like to cast my first spell or something, and it doesn't work out, and it's like, I don't know if it's really for me, or I don't know, nothing seems to work, or, they do it once and they want to be once and done, and it's not a once and done thing. If anything, it's even more demanding than exercise as far as bringing that magic into your life. It's a constant, always doing it kind of thing. It's understanding how to create transformation through natural laws and energies. It's the perfect combination of effort, wisdom, and believing. So it works on all levels. So it starts with your mind, your spirit, your soul, and it goes into your emotions. So you have to learn how to work your emotions, and then it comes into the physical. So you have to start in those spiritual kind of realms. Your mind can go in any place, right? But your soul and your spirit connecting to the divine, understanding the energies that are around you, believing, having the wisdom, bringing it into your body, into your emotions, expressing it, manifesting it in that way, and then bringing it into your physical. By the way, you're always manifesting things into your life, both good and bad. So everything you have in your life right now is because you brought it in, because you manifested it there. So we're going to explain that a little bit more. It's not a blame game, by the way. So having that effort, wisdom, and believing, that's when the magic happens. So the most powerful magic of all, what's the most powerful magic of all? This is the oldest magic, and it is the most powerful tool of magic. It's your thoughts. And I know that's like, it's like, I thought it was going to be something amazing. It's your thoughts. Once you really grasp how powerful your thoughts are, you will be amazed. You'll be like, oh my God, And the magic of your beliefs, that's the other big one. Both your thoughts and your beliefs, because your thoughts come up with the beliefs. We all believe things. Watch what you say out loud. I could never do that because I always fall down, or I could never get this because I always have bad luck. You're manifesting in, I always fall down, I always have bad luck, that sort of thing. You're bringing that in because you're creating a belief through that thought, right? So watch what your beliefs are. It's amazing the beliefs we have that we don't realize that we have, because a lot of us are doing it unconsciously, and we're also often on autopilot, and we're just going through life. I get up, I eat breakfast, I go to work, I come home, I make dinner, I eat, I sleep, I shower, I go to bed, and then I repeat it all over again, kind of thing. So we've done a few things. We've erased magic from our life. We've gone on autopilot, and we've created beliefs that we didn't realize we created that are also actually blockers as well. So you are using your thoughts and your beliefs, but the trick is to challenge those thoughts and beliefs, because everything we believe is a perception. Okay, keep that in mind. It's your perception, and everyone has a slightly different perception. They've proven that with eyewitness accounts of situations that have happened. Every eyewitness can have a different way of viewing it and gives a different story. I mean, some of the elements stay the same, but there's always a slightly different way of looking at things. So thoughts, beliefs, words, deeds, actions, reality. That's how it goes. It begins as a thought, it becomes a belief, then you start saying it out loud. So watch what you're saying, watch your vocabulary, then it becomes actions and deeds. Kind of like when you're sitting on the couch and there's dishes to do, you start thinking, I gotta get up and do those dishes. And then you might say out loud, even to yourself, yeah, I gotta go do those dishes. And then you get up, and then you go do the dishes. And that becomes your reality. The dishes get done. But it starts as a thought. It might be riddled with guilt as well, because you might have spent the last few hours binging on Netflix, but nevertheless, it's there, right? So your thoughts and beliefs can create good fortune or bad luck. It can heal illness, or it can manifest disease. It can make us successful or powerless. It's all in what we think and believe. It can be happy and blissful, or we can be stressed and irritable. Again, our choice. The choice is always yours. It's always your choice. And a lot of people, will say, oh, he made me mad, or, he just pushes my buttons and he just makes me so angry, or, this made me sad. And it's not to say that there are things out of control in our lives and something awful happens. My cousin, for instance, died in a tragic car accident. Of course, I was sad. But you always have that split second to make that decision. And it's normal to be sad at the loss of someone. That's okay. Grief is kind of a different animal. But at the same time, when someone makes you mad, no one makes you mad. You chose to react to that button pushing they did, and you rose to the occasion with anger. You made that choice. It's split second choice. Remember, this is the fastest computer on the planet. It can make split second decisions. And you might feel like in that moment, it was just like, well, it just happened so fast that I just reacted this way. You always have a choice. And you also have the choice to recognize, even once you do get angry, he's pushed my buttons and I'm so angry and I'm feeling angry, I'm reacting with anger. But then suddenly you realize I'm reacting with anger because I feel like he's pushed my buttons, and I'm letting him control me by making me angry, quote unquote, making me angry, but I can choose to not be angry. So you can even change your mind halfway through. That's a mistake a lot of people don't always recognize, is that yes, there it was that first split second, I'm angry because someone ticked me off or whatever, and that's how I first reacted, my initial reaction. You still have a choice after that to choose to continue in that angry reaction, or to pull back and go, I'm not going to react with anger. I did in that split second, but now I'm pulling back and I'm choosing not to. So keep that in mind too. It's not always at the beginning that you have to make the decision. You get to make the decision all the way through that pattern of anger, or that pattern of irritability, or that pattern of bitchiness, or that pattern of depression. And I'm not talking clinical depression. I'm talking like I'm just having a blue day kind of thing. Clinical depression, you need to see a doctor. So go talk to your doctor if you're having a lot of issues that way. But outside of that, where it's the emotion of being sad or angry or bitter or whatever, then you always have that choice, and you're making choices all the way through that period of being bitter. You're choosing to go there every single time. You can halfway through it choose not to go there anymore. So that's something to think about. When I realized that, because it's not that I don't lose control sometimes, but now I know when I'm in the middle of losing control, I can stop it right now. You have a choice, Rhonda. You can make the decision to stay out of control and to keep reacting in a emotional, reactive way, or you can rein yourself back, take control, make a decision. You can still be angry. There's such a thing as justified anger, but it's not out of control anger. It's not reactive anger. It's anger on purpose. And that's okay. It's okay to be angry. Some things you're rightfully angry about. Some things you're out of control about. We're all like that. So keep that in mind. I mentioned to advertisers know about this power of thoughts and beliefs because they set them up for us all the time. They try to make us believe that their particular brand will make us happier, slimmer, healthier, richer, better, or bring that change that is needed to create a better version of you with just a different hair color or whiter teeth or whatever it might be. They are weaving a form of glamour magic. So that's a type of glamour magic, and I can talk about that in another video as well. And their magic often works. So they know the magic formula. And I find it interesting. I actually come from a marketing background. I was in business in college and did accounting, and marketing was my major. and then also I have a magical background. And when I was in marketing, we learned that a person needs to hear something 9 times before they'll take action. That's a marketing thing, that someone needs to hear the same message 9 times before they'll take action. So when you're a salesperson or something, or an entrepreneur, as an owner, someone's not going to hear something once and then go, yep, I need that in my life. They usually need to hear it a few times. That's why you see, for those of us that still watch commercials on TV, that's why you see repeated commercials all the time. The same thing over and over and over again, because eventually we start going, wonder if I do need those whiter teeth. Perhaps I'll go out and buy those whitening strips, or whatever it might be. So keep that in mind. If you are an entrepreneur, let your message get out there at least 9 times. And that's 9 times of them hearing it. So every time it goes out, it doesn't mean they hear it every time, right? Same thing with when you're advertising on the radio. That person might hear your commercial twice and not hear it for the next 5 times that you put it out, because they're not listening to the radio at that point. So it's sort of a numbers game, right? So that's the marketing thing. But 9 in the magical background is also a very magical number, because 3 is a magic number, and 3 times 3 is 9, and 9s are about completion and new cycles beginning and that sort of thing. So 9 has a very divine kind of connection as well. So just kind of an interesting tidbit there. What we believe and how strongly we believe it will attract or repel opportunities, people, as well as people, and more abundance in our life. So it's what you believe, what your truth is, what you feel your truth is, what you believe. So examine what you believe, and especially what you believe about yourself, because often we're our own worst critic. We have a lot of doubts about ourselves, and we sometimes set those up as blocks. And the really funny thing about humans is we love to be right. So if I say, job opportunity is never going to come up for me, it's not going to happen, it never happens for me, and then I don't get any, I put out resumes and I don't get any interviews or calls from them, see, I was right? So we would rather be right in the negative than be wrong in the positive. But we also set ourselves up by saying I never get calls or interviews from putting out resumes. I'm sending that out, and the universe hears that and says, okay, she doesn't want any calls or interviews from these resumes going out, so we'll make this happen for her. And then I'm sort of reinforcing my belief that I don't get calls and interviews. I'm reinforcing that belief by then proving myself right by not getting the calls and the interviews. And thus starts the vicious cycle. So keep that in mind. What do you truly believe? And what are you saying out loud? Watch what you're saying to friends and family, because it's amazing how much self-doubt will come out in a conversation. Oh yeah, that never works out for me. Oh, I couldn't do that. I can't craft like that, or I can't bake like that, or I can't play piano like that. No, you're right. Whether you say you can or you can't, like Henry Ford said, you're right. And as humans, we love to be right. So be careful about what you're being right about, because you might be reinforcing that negative belief you have about yourself. And we do it in many ways, by putting it out there, by self-sabotaging, all kinds of things, right? So what we believe and how strongly we believe it will attract or repel opportunities, people, and more or less abundance in your life. Let that sink in a little bit. What we believe and how strongly we believe it will attract or repel opportunities, people, situations, and more or less abundance in our lives. We are in control of that for the most part. Magic is natural, by the way. It's not supernatural. It is natural, because magic must work within the laws of nature. And what you're doing with magic is you're bending the energies, which is totally a legitimate thing to do. You're working with the energies and the laws of the universe. I do a video on the moon You can find that on one of my playlists, the phases of the moon. And I talk about how if you work with the phases of the moon, you know what kind of energy is surrounding the world and our solar system at that point. And it's much easier to do things magically if you know what energy is in the skies right now, because the as above, so below rule applies. And it's not just a witchcraft thing. It actually goes way, way back to ancient times. So heavens and earth reflect each other very much, very much. You know, like with this, all this stuff that's happening down in the States and this coronavirus. I mean, there are so many planets in retrograde right now and that are, you know, stirring up stuff, and Pluto's nearby, and Pluto's never nearby unless sort of shit has hit the fan kind of thing, right? So keep that in mind, that, you know, that heavens are reflecting what's happening here on Earth right now. So it's always good to look to the moon to see what kind of energy we're in. So like I said, magic is natural. It's not supernatural. So this means it's accessible to everyone, including you. Magic is often hidden from view. It is a hidden thing. I mean, it's not like you can look around and go, oh, there's energy here, and I see a thing of energy there. Energy is kind of one of those invisible things. It's like electricity. You don't see electricity, but you know the light's on. You know how to switch the lights on and off. You know how to turn the heat up, or in my case, how to turn the air conditioner on. It is summer here. So you know it. You know what to do to get the electricity going. You're not an electrician. You don't know how necessarily. You kind of have maybe a rough idea of how it is, but you're not in there working wires or anything like that. So that's kind of like magic. We know how to work with it. We don't have to know how to move the wires of magic and energy and that sort of thing. We just need to know that they're there and how to work with them. So like I said, it's often hidden from view. It's kind of an invisible thing, but it is real. And I'm here to show you how to find it, see it, and work with it. So true magic is an art, like any skill. And those that have practiced have learned the wisdom of directing energies to create a specific result. So one of the things in magic is be specific, but also be open. So I know that sounds like a weird thing, like be specific, but not too specific. Be open to whatever's best for you, for your higher self. So you could say, you know, when you're wishing for something and you want to manifest something in, be specific about what you want. Be emotional about, like, really feel the emotion of having that thing. Be in the present moment. We're going to talk about that because a lot of people are like, yeah, people always say to be in the present moment, but I don't quite get it. And I get that. And I've done another video on appreciation and the law of giving and receiving to really be a strong manifester. That's actually the second video to this one. I realized I did that one first, but it's up there already. So you can take a look at that one, because that will really bring you into being a power manifester. But it is an art and it is a skill. Magic is an art and a skill. Manifesting is an art and a skill. And you have to be specific, but also leave yourself open to whatever's best for you. So you could say something, I really wish for a red car with leather interior, and you could say the brand and whatever else you want to get into, and then you feel how great it is to have that car and to be going down the road and driving it and looking good in it and all that kind of stuff. And then you also bring in that wisdom of practicing it, but also being open to, you know, whatever's best for my higher self, this or something better, that sort of thing. So maybe you get a blue car that's even better and has better gas mileage or whatever it might be, you know. And it's funny because, like, this happened for me, and it happens for me all the time with my office. So with my office, I was looking for an office, and I wanted it to be within my price range, which was fairly low at the time. And I was thinking I might not find one. And I did find one that perhaps could work, but it was one where I'd have to bring in a partner because it was sort of two offices in one. And I was like, okay, yeah, let's do this. Let's sign these papers, that sort of thing. And it got sort of scooped out from under me, totally fine. And then I was offered this office that I'm in. And this office is actually cheaper than the one I was looking at. It's my own office. I'm not having to share with anybody. Not that I'm not good at sharing, but you know, it's my own thing, right? And it's really cute, adorable, decorated it exactly how I wanted it. Also got a private floor, pretty much. I've got my own bathroom. I've got a kitchen. I've got a waiting room, which is also acts as a studio for me when I have bigger gatherings or whatever. So this right here, because I did my manifesting for this, was my this or something better. I actually got a better deal from this one. So it's also letting things unfold as they're supposed to, right? So it is an art, and I find the more I do this, the better and faster it works for me. Now, it's not always the next day because people get impatient and want instantaneous gratification, but it teaches you patience too. So learning to work with magic is learning to awaken, strengthen, control, and direct the energies of your own life and your own reality. So you're working with the energies around you, the divine energies of the universe, but you also have your own energies and your own reality, and you're creating it all. And the more you practice manifesting, or the magic of manifesting, the more you awaken, strengthen, control, and direct the energies of your life. And that is such a freeing thing to know I'm in control. Things don't come into my life as randomly as they used to. There's always a little bit of randomness that we all have to deal with, but ultimately I feel more in control of my life. I'm living my dream life. I mean, are there things I would like to bring in? Yes, and I'm going to be bringing those things in. But I know it's not, it's not all going to come at once, and that's okay. And looking back, I'm like, damn, I've brought in some pretty nice things into my life. I have a great life, and I'm really happy about my life. I love what I'm doing. I love what I've done. Everything is awesome. So the hard part is in learning to focus and direct these energies. But no magic ever happens without belief. You really have to believe. So focus and directing is, one of the harder parts, but believing is often the hardest part. Believing is part of trusting and surrendering. A lot of, the witch's pyramid is to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent. Now, part of being silent is doing your manifesting, doing your spell, whatever it might be, doing your prayer, doing your novena, and then releasing it. Often we want to hang on to it, and then we want to micromanage how this is going to come into fruition. And that's such a wrong step. I'm just going to say it out. It's a wrong step. You've got to release it. Being silent about it is a form of releasing it. So you release it, you let it go into the arms of your guardian angel, into the arms of the divine, wherever it needs to go, and you must trust that it will happen. That's a belief. Believe and trust that it'll happen, and surrender. You are part of the divine, but you are not God. So let's face that, right? So there's a plan for you, and there's a way that this will happen. The universe very rarely says no. Very rarely. 99% of the time it'll say yes, right? So I teach that class too, of the answers the universe will give you. And no is not one of them. Very, very rarely. It might be I want to murder this person. Well, then the answer will be no. But outside of that, pretty much yes. If you want the new car, if you want the new job, if you want the new love, if you want the spiritual enlightenment, all those kind of things that you're bringing in, yes. Especially if it's for your higher self. And you have to get yourself aligned in that. And part of becoming aligned is releasing that need and that wish and that desire, and trusting and surrendering to the divine. And that aligns the divine in you with the divine up top as well. So what belief is the practice of using our imagination to create changes in the world. So belief is the practice of using our imagination to create changes in the world around us. This magical believing begins with changing ourselves and our consciousness. So like I said earlier, it starts with, what do you believe about yourself? What are the self-doubts that are there? So magical believing will have us discovering who we truly are and what we are truly capable of. We often don't give ourselves enough credit. Or sometimes we give ourselves too much credit. Knowing your limitations, but also knowing what you're truly capable of, and knowing that you are able to do these things, and that you are a divine, beautiful human soul, capable of living a divine, beautiful life. So what I'm going to be teaching you is how to believe in your abilities and how to use your beliefs to weave magic more fully into your life. And this is what I teach through HEAP. So HEAP is a program I developed. So HEAP stands for Happily Ever After Program of Abundance, is the name of the whole course. And I teach through magic, through fairy tales, and through many, many rituals and techniques on how to create that life that is best for you, that is your dream life kind of thing. And anybody can do it. It's just a matter of signing up kind of thing. So I'm teaching parts of it through these videos so that you get a taste for it and so that you can help bring some of this into your life as well. So there are a few rules of magic in believing. So I'll go through those rules in a little bit. But your first tool, so we're going to talk about some of the tools of magic as well. So your first tool of magic, and outside of your thoughts, which is magic, that is a powerful tool that you have already, but the first outside of that tool is a journal, plain and simple. It's also known as your book of shadows if you're doing witchcraft. It can also be called a book of mirrors sometimes, a book of enchantment, the magical journal. Grimoire is another sort of old-fashioned term for a book of shadows or a journal. A looking glass etching book is something I came up with in my Heap of Abundance, because I'm going to show you the trick of really good journaling. So you most have many volumes. So I have lots of different volumes. I don't think I have any here. I think I've left them all at home. But in the time that I've been kind of practicing magic for almost 35 years, somewhere in there, I have lots of different books of shadows, tons and tons. I'll show them to you sometime. So in these books, you keep everything from your magical practices and the results. The results are very important as well. Your dreams, you can put your dreams in there. Knowledge that you've learned from whatever classes, videos, books, whatever it might be. You can put symbols in there as you're learning symbols, and sketches. Sketches are very powerful. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit too. I like handwritten journals. This is because there's something magical in handwritten. I know there's some that, keep binders, which is fine. You can handwrite in binders too, but they'll, print it out, a computer, type it in and print it out, and they like it nice and neat and all that kind of stuff. Now, I do see the advantage of binders, like even if you've handwritten it out, because you can change sheets around or redo or whatever. When you've got a journal, it's like there's no going back. But there is a nice thing about journals too, because there is no going back. What you write is what you write. There's no changing it. And it's very organic, I find, if you are using a journal that you're handwriting in. It's your true self coming through. There's something magical about writing. They always say the pen is mightier than the sword, that sort of thing. And it can be very true, because once you see it in written form, there's power behind it. Because people will believe written word before they'll believe spoken word. So that's why societies are often viewed as advanced when they have written word, because there's power behind those words, and especially when they're repeated type words. So, like I said, about the journals, when there's journals that you can't change pages in, there's something very organic about it, because you got to take the mistakes with the, awe-inspiring, well, wow, that was a really great passage, or boy, did I really draw that well, or whatever, right? And it's like, oh, the next page, not so great. Let's just skip over that, kind of thing. I do understand sort of the binder. I've had binders as well where I've kept things organized. Feeds my Virgo sign, who loves details and that sort of thing. I have yet to go to true printed stuff. I have bought like sheets that, have a spell on it, or have like the moon phases or whatever on it, and put that into a binder. So there's that as well. So I kind of get the combination of the two, but when it really comes to your personal practice of manifesting or magic or prayer, whatever it is you call it, that you are practicing, there's something organic about the journal and something magical. And the cool thing is, in looking back on it, that's why I call it a looking glass etching book, because it acts as a mirror for what your journey has been, and you get to look back on it. Some of my really much older Book of Shadows, there's some stuff in there that I'm like, okay, yeah, I was a newbie witch. Yep, I get that. Because to me, I remember writing that down and going, this is such a great discovery. And now, to me, it feels like common knowledge, right? Like, doesn't everybody know this? Because, again, sort of like I've forgotten more than most people will know about magic, right? I once had a mentor that was an esthetician that was like that. She knew more about skincare than you'll ever, or she'd forgotten more about skincare than I'll ever know, kind of thing. So I talked about symbols and sketches and stuff. So all images and symbols contain magical seeds. So that's why I do like the handwritten as well, because that's a symbol you're physically putting on to a paper, as opposed to just punching a button on a computer, right? So, and letters and numbers, if you really think about it, are symbols. They're representations of certain things. In letters, it can be a representation of words, concepts, ideas. Numbers, it's representations of quantities and that sort of thing. But they're still symbols, right? So each one is a link to energies through the universe. If anyone's ever studied numerology or heard of numerology, you know that numbers mean different things. So there's lots of meanings behind different letters and numbers. And if you do numerology, we often will take the name of a person, and they each are represented by, each letter is represented by a number, and then that in of itself means something as well, right? Your soul path, your divine destiny, that sort of thing, right? So when we give an image or a symbol special significance, its magic is awakened. So, like David's star is very special to the Jewish people. The crucifix is very special to the Catholic people. The cross is very special to Christian people overall. And there's lots of different symbols around the world that have been used in many different ways. A lot of pagan symbols. For instance, the pentacle, very special to a lot of witches, pagans, Wiccans, that sort of thing. We give it special power through regular use in meditation, prayer, ritual, action, writing, so drawing it, and or artwork. And if you look at the cathedrals, especially around Europe, there's lots of different imagery, the carvings that they did, like, it's such a beautiful skill that we're losing, unfortunately, but just the ornateness of it all, and then everything kind of has that meaning behind it as well, and it's so fascinating to see what symbols they used, and what each of those meanings were or are, kind of thing. So magical symbols, images, and written words bridge the inner and outer parts of ourselves. So a lot of times, if you allow it to happen, your subconscious can kind of start to come through in your writing. They connect us to the right energy, and that we are seeking in the universe. Like I said before, these symbols, whether in letter, number, picture form, or actual symbols or singles or whatever, connect to different energies in the universe. And the universe knows, okay, this is the energy that this person wants to bring in, whether it's more peace, more money, more love, more food, whatever it might be. Maybe I'm getting hungry. So our work with magical symbols, images, and words act as a magnet, drawing and attracting those outside energies into our life. So that's why journaling is so magical and so powerful, because we're writing down lessons that we're learning, thoughts that we're having, dreams that we're having. And especially with dreams, I always talk about this when I talk about dream journals. If you're just doing a dream journal, the trick with the dream journal, and the trick with any journal actually, because the dream journal is basically you writing down messages that your subconscious is giving you. So our subconscious speaks to us in very cryptic form, sometimes in pun form, because the angels and the divine and our subconscious love puns for some reason. They just think they're just over the moon with puns. I don't know why. It's like, seriously, puns? Okay, whatever. So puns it is. But when you write down your dreams, we never get a full message, or very rarely get a full message in one dream. Our subconscious speaks to us in repetition and also in long form. So you write down your dreams, and I often will advise clients, write your dreams for a week and then look back on those dreams. And suddenly the dream you had on Monday night that didn't make any sense, but after writing down Friday night's dream, it's like, oh, I see the message now. Because there's two things humans are genetically geared to always recognize. One is human faces. So we recognize other human faces. That's why we see them in so many things, like potato chips and apple cores and things like that. We see faces. It's just something we do, right? So we tend to see faces, and we're geared to recognize faces. The other thing we're geared to recognize is patterns. We recognize patterns, and our subconscious, over the course of 5 to 7 days or whatever, will be creating that pattern, because our subconscious, which is much faster, much bigger, much wiser, much smarter than our conscious mind, believe it or not, knows that we recognize patterns. So that's why it often speaks to us in patterns. So that's why looking back and reflecting like a looking glass, it etches onto our mind and to our heart and soul what the message is. So a lot of times that bizarre dream about the purple gorilla having a shower with you makes no sense, but by the time you're done 5 or 6 dreams after that, it's like, oh, now I know who the purple gorilla is and why we're having a shower together. So watch that when you're doing journals. Always look back and reflect and see. You'll see growth a lot of the times. When it comes to dreams, you'll see the patterns and the messages start to emerge. The first time I did that, because I kept a bit of a dream journal before that, and it's like, I don't know if it's really making sense, or if it's really helping me. But then when I learned to look back on it, I realized how angry I was. And then I had to do some reflecting on what is it I'm so angry about. And I worked on it, and it really released a huge block in my life. And my subconscious had been trying to tell me for quite some time, but I wasn't listening, and I wasn't looking for the pattern. When I found the pattern, I knew exactly. I was like, it just crystal clear for me once it happened. It was like, oh, I'm angry. What am I so angry at? And then I worked through that, and I realized what I was so angry at, and I worked through that anger and was able to release it. And when that happened, oh, the floodgates opened. It was awesome. Abundance came flooding in. Things just went smoother, that sort of thing. So that's the big trick. So like I said, words and images and symbols act as a magnet, drawing and attracting those outside energies into our life. Use magical symbols, images, and words to join and align our inner and outer minds. Once they are aligned, then they become the magnet. So by writing it down, you're helping to align. Because like I said, when I did that dream journal, suddenly I knew what my subconscious was trying to tell me. So it was aligning my subconscious. And like I said, it opened those floodgates of abundance that just made life smoother. Things were coming in faster. Once they're aligned, that's when they become the magnet. And like I said, that's when the floodgates open, drawing the universal energies into your life. So easy. Everything we think, do, and believe affects us on all levels. Often you have to start with the mind in both the divine and the emotional side of things. Then you work into the body, in the emotion, then it becomes a reality. But it can't help but affect every part of your life. So your book of enchantment, what it does, your journal, your book of shadows, your magic journal, whatever you want to call it, strengthens your magical beliefs and strengthens your beliefs in manifesting, helps you in creating your own magical formulas, which become very strong for you, provides you with what works and what does not. So there's lots of things that work. I have lots of tools that I offer my clients. Some tools work better for other people and other tools work better for other people. It doesn't mean that tool doesn't work. It just means that person is more geared to working with this tool. I've learned lots of tools. I offer lots of tools. I offer lots of techniques. Do I use them all? No. Have I used them all? Yes. I've at least tried them all, and I've at least given them all a good run, not just a one and done. No, that didn't work for me, so I'm never using it again. No. That's not true scientific kind of proof whether it works or not. You have to try it a few times and just see, okay, is this working for me? And also you have to learn to listen to your intuition. And your knee-jerk, no, I don't want to do this, is not your intuition, by the way. It's resistance a lot of the times. So then you have to question, why am I resisting this? And often there's a block in there, right? So for instance, one of the things is decluttering. Decluttering your life, start with the physical and then the rest follows, right? So that's the one thing where you do start in the physical and the rest follows. I was resisting decluttering for a long time. I'm what I call an organized hoarder. I'm not really a hoarder, but my house is a bit of a what I call organized chaos. First of all, I don't like housework, so I tend to avoid it. But then I also, housework often requires, decluttering and getting rid of stuff. I feel good once it's gone, but it's the actual act of it. So I had to really hone in on what I was resisting there. What was the problem? There were a few different things that I had to address. One of them was making decisions, and I had to address the ability to make decisions and the energy around making decisions and that sort of thing. So that's just one example. I have since worked through a lot of that. It's not to say that I'm a minimalist. I'm by no means a minimalist, nor will I ever be, and I'm okay with that. But I am better about not just letting crap kind of build up. I mean, we all have those little, nooks and crannies where it's like, this is where I'll put the Canadian Tire flyer this week and for the next 10 weeks. Do I need all those flyers? No, I don't. So we all have that little nook or cranny, right? And I'm better about cleaning those out and whatnot. So that's something to, sort of address in yourself, these different resistance that you might have at first. Having your journal or your book of enchantment, like I said, provides you with what works and what does not. It's always good to, when I first had my book, I didn't put the results in. So put the results in because you're going to fail on some of them. Some of them aren't going to work. Try it again. See what failed again. If it's the same thing or if it's something different or whatever it might be. But it's always good to know where you fell down as well as where you stepped up. It increases creativity because it engages the creative part of our mind. It improves communication both with yourself, with your spirit guides, with your angels, and with the universe in general, and with the divine overall. Your book of shadows will act as a looking glass of reflection, a reflection of your conscious and subconscious minds, and your magic within, the magic that you have within your soul. And as an etching tool in that it will, looking back over your Book of Shadows and reflecting on it, the patterns and messages begin to emerge and start to etch secret knowledge and wisdom onto your mind, your heart, and your soul. So that's why it's good. That's the trick, is looking back and then allowing it to become part of you, become etched into you. So creating your book of enchantment. So one of the first steps is to put a protection on your book, because you don't necessarily want prying eyes looking at this. This is a little bit like a diary, but also, you know, people may judge and that sort of thing. So you don't want eyes looking at it. So often I'll put a little protection. I often use the pentacle as a symbol of protection on one of the first pages of my Book of Shadows. I will sometimes put a little written script as well there that kind of protect as a protection spell. And dedication is also good, like what you're kind of doing with the book. So the dedication can be right after the protection spell. On the next page, it's something you can write out, and it's dedicated to helping you understand and express your own wonderful magical journey in this life. So dedicate a few blank pages, as I say here, for a section called My Hopes, Dreams, and Wishes. So it's always nice to kind of, I usually pick the last few pages, you know, maybe last 10 pages of a book to have as my hopes, wishes, and dreams. And then the rest of the book is just my journey kind of thing. So this is where you write everything down, no matter how silly, how big, how small, or how ridiculous. Anything you can think of can happen. You just have to believe. You have to believe in magic, and you have to believe in you. And the reason you're writing it down is because you're making it more solid. Again, like I said before, you're aligning your two minds, your conscious and your subconscious minds, together by writing it down. Also, it's always good to kind of look back and see how things change in what your wants, needs, and desires are, because they will change. And, you know, you'll be like, oh, yeah, I got that. Oh, yeah, I brought that into my life. Oh, that was, yeah, something I didn't need, but I thought I needed it. You know, that sort of thing, right? So, but you have to believe. That's the big thing. You have to believe that this will happen. So the fourth step of creating your Book of Enchantment or Book of Shadows is keep in mind that this is a journal of your magical spiritual journey in life. So be sure to keep a record of your magical activities and your magical studies as well. So your thoughts and everything can go in there, your dreams can go in there, but also don't forget to put down what you're doing magically speaking, whether it's a certain ritual, a novena, what you said, what you did, that sort of thing. 5, like I said before, is keep track of the results. After performing a ritual, keep track of what's happening. So here's sort of how, you know, to keep track of what might be happening. So examine how you are feeling right after the ritual, right after the novena, whatever. If you're feeling hopeful, if you're feeling excited, if you're feeling whatever. And also what your dreams are over the next few days, you know, kind of thing. See how you're feeling in a week out, 2 weeks out, how you're feeling, if your dreams changed at all, how others are responding to you. Because when you have magic in the air and you're creating stuff and you're altering energies, that sort of thing, you'll find people start to respond to you in a positive way. And they're responding because they can't help it, because they recognize something. They might not consciously recognize something, but there's just something about you, you know, that sort of thing, right? This way you'll know what has worked and what didn't, and perhaps what may need some tweaking for the next time. Like I said, always be open to the next time. This first time, sometimes it takes layers. You know, it's not a one and done. You know, it's like, okay, I did it this way this time, and next time I'm going to do it the same way, but I'm adding that extra layer. I'm believing a little stronger. I'm a little more enthusiastic, whatever it might be. Because sometimes a lot of the layers are us peeling off layers of doubt and non-belief. So, you know, now I'm in a different place. Now I'm doing the same thing, but I'm in a different place. I've changed. This is often the factor that has to change, by the way, this whole thing right here. So a word of warning. The first step, be careful about sharing your magical practices. Like I said, keep in mind the witch's pyramid: to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent. To be silent is probably one of the most important ones. That is why we put a protection spell on the book first thing. So prying eyes cannot see and tongues will not wag. Not everyone is understanding, and we are not here to convert. I'm here to offer knowledge for those that want it. I'm not here to convert anybody. And I follow many different paths and have followed many different paths, and a lot of the paths are leading to the same direction. So I feel like we're all climbing the same mountain. Just sometimes you use this path versus the other. Sometimes you share a path. Sometimes paths cross, and you say hello to someone as you're crossing their path. But we're not here to show necessarily to tell someone this is the only way up the mountain and this is how it has to be done. I'm here to show you some of the ways up the mountain, and to, as I say in many of my classes, here are the rules, bend as needed, and sometimes break if you need to. Find what works for you. Do as you will and harm none. I'm just here to offer some techniques that have worked for me and have worked for others, including my clients that I know. So like I said, not everyone is understanding, and we're not here to convert. Even if in a coven, so I finished that off. Sorry, I'm not reading my own writing here. I was part of a coven where there was a lady that kept trying to bring new people into the coven, and it made for a very disabled coven, and it made for a very unstable journey as well, because she was always trying to convert someone to what we were doing. And sometimes it fit and sometimes it didn't fit. But every time we got together, it seemed there was someone new. And as a group, we were having to readjust. So it's a little bit hard when that happens. So like I said, do what you need to do. Follow your path. Do as you will, as long as you harm none. Our journey tends to be secretive and more than a little covered with hazy mist. Like I said, the witch's journey is a different kind of journey. And it's a often secretive journey, and it's often covered with a hazy mist. I'm here to offer information, guidance. If you want it, you can always reach out to me. However, I'm not here to convert you. If you want to go off and do it this way, you want to be a Buddhist, you want to be a Christian, you want to be a Jewish person, totally fine by me, totally cool. But like I said, the witch's pyramid is to know, to dare, to will, and to be silent. And I'm going to be doing a whole series of videos on that as well. So to make a spell or wish come true, we must be silent. If we overshare, we could potentially be blocking further growth and blocking success through the negative thoughts of others. So there's a couple of ways, and this is part of the reason why for spell work they say to be silent. That's the bottom part of the pyramid. That's the biggest part. So it's one of the more important parts of spell casting or manifesting even, is to be silent. Now there's one thing to be telling friends for accountability reasons, but there's quite another thing to, I'm just trusting and surrendering. I'm going to release it. A form of releasing is by being silent about it, but also so that there's no judgment put on it, because you're making your own wishes in a judgment-free zone, and it's hard enough to do that without placing your own judgments on it. But when someone else places judgments on it, they can accidentally be creating blocks for you. The other thing too, like I said, is being silent about it is then also a form of trusting and surrendering and releasing it. And if we keep talking to people about it as well, if you set up the spell and then all you do is talk about it, you can turn it from manifesting into an obsession. An obsession is a block. So if you keep talking about it all the time, you have to watch whether you're making it an obsession and therefore blocking it on your own. So that is some of the bigger tools of magic. Your thoughts, your beliefs, in your journal. So I hope this helped enlighten you in some of your magical journeys. If you want to know more, please reach out to me. I'm Rhonda Gilbert, or Lady Rose of Goddess Garage. You can find me here on YouTube. I'll put my email address in the description as well. I hope you will subscribe to this channel. You can also find me on Facebook at Goddess Garage Tarot Parlor, and you can reach out to me there if you like as well. Thank you so much for joining me. Merry, wise, and gentle be. Take care.